Welcome into College SportsCast. We are presented by the Fanboys. All right, guys. Welcome back. It's Brad with College Sportscast. I have a special guest with me tonight. Tonight I have Josh Linky. I can't say his name, but Josh Linky with me. And we're going to do kind of a special Sweet 16 matchups. He is the Zagaholic is what he's majorly known by. Started a blog a long time ago. I think, 2007, Josh? Is that right?
Yeah, 2007, and I've been doing the tweeting and, podcasting and all that thing pretty much since the mid-2010s.
Right. But you're still kind of known as the Zagaholic.
Yeah, the Zagaholic on Twitter, and I have the Zagaholic podcast. You can get it on Spotify and everything, and then I also just recently launched a podcast with a Kentucky fan called Switch Everything, and we talk Kentucky and Gonzaga, but we also talk all of national college basketball. So just any story or topic that's going on the scene of college basketball, we're going to discuss.
Right. Yeah, I noticed your new podcast as well. I didn't know you was with a Kentucky fan on it, but you have been on our show before. It was before we were doing video, and it was when we was doing the Podbean audio stuff, and you were on when we previewed the Gonzaga and Kentucky game early in the season, like in November. Yeah. So he was on with us once before. And I'm excited to have him back because tonight the Sweet 16 matchup is on. John, you got something on in the background.
We're doing that fundraiser. They were doing a pretty cool wine dance thing situation.
It might be his wife.
He's got his wife on in the background.
Because they were all
I think. All right, get him off for just a second. All right, I'll get him back in a minute. All right, so what I was saying, we're excited because tonight Gonzaga and UCLA match up for a Sweet 16 matchup, and the last time they matched up was a Final Four game a couple of years ago in the NCAA tournament. The last time in March Madness. It might be the last time, period. Is it the last time they played each other?
We played last year also in Vegas during a preseason kind of non-conference game, and we ended up beating them by about 20 in Vegas last year as well. So,
okay, all right. Well,
this is our third tournament game against UCLA all time. Of course, everybody probably remembers the Adam Morrison collapsing on the floor, crying in 2006.
Yeah, was it 6 or 7? 6?
It was 2006, yeah. And that effectively ended his college career that night.
That was I remember that one as well. So
yeah, and then we ended up playing again in I believe it was 2015. It was either 2015, 2016. We beat them that time in the Sweet 16. And that was kind of like exercising the demons, so to speak. But the Final Four shot was the big one that everybody remembers, of course, because Jalen Suggs.
Well, I'll get to that a little. I'll get to that one a little deeper into it here, but I definitely was going to bring that one up, the Final Four shot. But I just want to welcome to the show. John Roberts is on with us now. Hey, John. Can you hear me? I'm not sure that he's. I'm not sure that he can hear me yet.
Okay.
I don't know. All right. So the big story, of course, is the senior or the. I guess Timmy's a senior. Is Timmy a senior or a junior?
Yeah, he's a true senior. This is
That's
fourth
what I thought.
year.
He is a senior, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And of course, Jaime from and Tyler Campbell from UCLA are all been a part of that 2021 Final Four game we were just talking about. So with Timmy, what do you expect to see tonight with True Timmy?
Well, I think what you should expect to see would be to him, him doing what he does in the tournament, and that is, get out there and perform at a high level. He has had, I believe, 10 20-point games in the tournament now in his career. And
we'll get to, it's 9 actually.
9?
He's
Okay.
actually tied. He's actually tied the record with 6 other guys.
Okay, there you go. And
that's the record for most 20-point games in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. And so, and one thing that gives me a little bit of hope on that front would be the fact that UCLA is kind of struggling in their front court right now. And there's potential that Adam Bona will not be able to play tonight. There's been some tweets about that today that he's questionable for the game. And if that's the case, then, Timmy doesn't really have a lot that he's going against in that front court.
Right.
So, I'm not going to guarantee he's going to have a big game because Jaime Jaquez is still there. They still have some, very good defensive talent. They can make things interesting in the middle for sure. But, Timmy won't necessarily have as big of a matchup potential that we thought he was going to have.
Well, Bona did play the last game, the round of 32 game. But he only played about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Bona did. And he's coming off of a chest injury. I don't know. Singleton also got hurt at the end of that game.
Right.
And I think he's questionable tonight as well. So
yeah,
I'm not exactly sure what to expect with him from UCLA either. But speaking of Drew Timmy, he did tie the record for the most 20-point games. He there's 6 other people, and I'm going to try to remember every one of them, but I'm probably going to leave one out. Glenn Rice is one. Danny Manning is one. Elvin Hayes is one. I tell you, one is Bill Bradley with Princeton is one of them. Actually, a Princeton guy from the 60s. Bill Bradley is one.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's 6 guys that Timmy is tied with, and he has a chance tonight if he can go for 20 to break that record and get that 10th one that you were talking about. And that would be the most points ever, 20-point games, in the NCAA history. Yeah. John, can you hear me now?
I can now. Good Lord.
Okay.
My audio was absolutely.
Yeah, so we could hear you. Your wife was talking.
Yeah, I know. Then I was like, crap, I need to mute the mic.
And then you couldn't hear us. So yeah, I'm not real sure. So anyway, yeah, I figured that out after a minute. So
yeah.
All right, so Josh, this is John, and he's one of my partners on the show, and we're kind of previewing the UCLA and the Gonzaga matchup right now. So let's go to that 2021. There won't be any Jalen Suggs shots tonight at the end of the game. I know that for sure. No matter what happens, Jalen Suggs won't be hitting a near half-court shot to send UCLA home and move Gonzaga on. Is there another player on the team that you think that can do something and play similar to the way Suggs played 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think that the guy that naturally takes that role is Julian Strother. He's a native of Las Vegas, so he's going to be playing in front of his family and in his hometown tonight. And he's done this all season long. He's had big clutch shots in games against BYU. In games he had a 40-point game a few weeks back. He's kind of a microwave scorer in a way. Like when he gets hot, he takes over.
Right.
But the thing about Julian Strother that's real interesting is we're actually 24-1 in games in which he scored at least 11 points this season. So when he's contributing at even just a relatively even level, Gonzaga wins generally.
Right. That's the guy I thought you would probably bring up when I asked that question. Would be Strother. That's who I was thinking you would bring up in that situation. Another key, I think, and I'll get to this and I'll see what you think about it. But I've got keys to the game, and a key to me for Gonzaga is the play of Watson.
Yeah,
Anton Watson's is going to be a key factor in this game if Gonzaga is going to win this game. I know Strother is a 42% 3-point shooter, and Gonzaga needs his scoring, but Watson's got to show up and play well as well in this game.
Yeah, Anton Watson, Mark Few would tell you is maybe our MVP of this season. He's not necessarily the guy that jumps out at you in the box score as being like the main player for Gonzaga, but what he is kind of like an even better glue guy than what a lot of teams would normally title that role, because he's our best defender. I think you'll probably remember back to that Kentucky game, he got assigned to Shibwe for the majority of that game. And even though he's smaller than Shibwe, he gave him fits because it's just his hands. He's got incredibly fast hands. He is chaotic in passing lanes. He's a guy who will get lots of steals. He's one of the best defensive players, I think, on this roster. And then on the offensive end, he's underrated. He's not necessarily a 3-point shooter or an outside threat, but he can occasionally knock those down. And where he really thrives, though, is in the middle. His ability to create off the bounce in the post, and he's a nice 1-2 punch with Timmy down low. And also very underrated passer for his size.
What's some other keys you think for the game that you think will go either way, Gonzaga way, and you can also talk about some of the keys you think that'll happen for UCLA as well?
Yeah, I think the clear strength for UCLA is Tiger Campbell. He's one of the most experienced point guards in the nation. He is a level-headed, very experienced leader who will keep that team focused and doing exactly what Mick Cronin wants.
Gets to the line a lot and knocks them down.
And he knows how to create on offense for them, which UCLA is one of the, I think they're number 2 on Ken Palm in defense in the nation. And but on offense, Tiger Campbell is what gets them to go. He knows how to feed Jaime Jaquez down low. He's been real key in getting Amari Bailey to come out of his shell and become a much more complete player as the season has progressed. So, and that's a strength that maybe Gonzaga doesn't have on our end, is Nolan Hickman, while improving and developing as the season has progressed.
But he's not Tiger Campbell.
Exactly. He's not Tiger Campbell. And he won't be for the next year or two, because Tiger Campbell is a very experienced 4-year player at this point.
He is. Absolutely. And Nolan Hickman, this is really his first year running the show, basically, for Gonzaga. Yeah. He is a sophomore, but this is his first year running the show.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, if you remember last year, he was behind Andrew Nembhard, who was really one of the best point guards in college basketball. Mark Hughes called him maybe the best pick and roll point guard that he's ever had at Gonzaga, which is really high praise. So, Nolan got to learn behind him, but he is not yet Andrew Nembhard.
Right. There's one question that I wanted to ask you. Efton Reed. Mm-hmm. Will he play? Does he play as much? I mean, does he come off the bench? Does he contribute? It kind of shocks me that he transferred out there and isn't as big a part of this team as I thought he might be.
Yeah, so Efton Reed is he's had moments this year where he has contributed. He actually did a little bit in the second half against Michigan State when we played them on the aircraft carrier earlier this year. But he knew coming into this that this was going to be a learning year for him. He was going to sit behind Drew Timme. He was going to learn the ins and outs of what a big player at Gonzaga is supposed to do. And he's going to work on his body, work on just understanding the playbook, get to the point where he's ready. And then next year would be his chance to, show his skills and become a bigger contributor. But, it's just that thing where Anton Watson and Drew Timme are the bigger, more experienced players at this point. And then Ben Gregg came out of nowhere in November, where a lot of Gonzaga fans didn't really expect him to become a contributor this year, and he kind of stole those minutes from Efton early on. He's been just a godsend of energy throughout the season. He's also kind of a pick and pop stretch four, somebody who can step outside, knock down a three, but he's also really shown growth on defense and hustle this year, which is something that was always a question mark with him in the past. So we're excited to see that, he's become that more complete player.
All right. I mean, I just wanted to bring up Efton Reed because he did transfer from SEC school. We're in that kind of SEC land. Me and John. I'm in Kentucky. He's in Birmingham, Alabama. So, we're in the SEC country over here. And Efton Reed was a pretty big star, athlete, and transferred out to Gonzaga. So I wanted to ask you about him while we had you on. Do you think he will? Has he played much? I do remember it seems like one of the last games y'all played against St. Mary's, I seen him playing. So
yeah, I mean,
got some
at this point, most of his playing time is garbage time. He's just not getting a lot. Like if for whatever reason we were to pull out and get a big lead against UCLA today, which I am not predicting, by the way.
Or Timme gets in foul trouble.
Sure, yeah. If we need the extra body, that could be a case too. But I wouldn't expect to see him log many, if any, minutes tonight.
All right. I just wanted to bring him up. Like I said, it's SEC country here. So, and I feel like if he stays and he's there and learns and stuff under Timme, I feel like Efton Reed would be a good bonus for y'all for next year.
Absolutely.
All right. So what are your predictions for this game?
I think that this is going to be a close game. However, with the front court issues that UCLA has right now, if Gonzaga is knocking down the shots that we know they're capable of knocking down, I feel like this is going to be a difficult matchup for UCLA. They're not going to be able to, score with the consistency to keep Gonzaga from pulling away towards the end. I see it as like a 5 to 7 point win for Gonzaga, which I know that doesn't necessarily jive with what the sports books are saying, but that's just my personal opinion based on all the research that I've done going into this.
Well, the sports books are saying 1.5 for UCLA. That's what they were saying this morning early.
Right.
That's what Vegas, the Caesars sports book, was saying when I was looking at it this morning. With UCLA's injuries, I do expect Gonzaga to win this game, and I'm kind of with you on that boat. I feel like it could be anywhere from a 5 to an 8, maybe 5 to 8 point win, something like that is kind of where I'm leaning. If Jalen Clark doesn't get hurt and you got him and Tiger Campbell, going against Hickman, and the one knock that I had against Gonzaga all year long was their guard play. I didn't think their guard play was quite up to par what it's been the last 2 or 3 years.
Sure.
And I would think you as a Gonzaga, fan would agree with me on that.
Absolutely.
But in this game without Jalen Clark, Tiger Campbell could still control this game somewhat. But I do expect Gonzaga and Timmy to get this win. Josh, I'm pulling for you tonight for the
I appreciate
Zags.
it, man. We could
Yeah,
use
man,
all the help we can get.
Well, you know I'm a Kentucky fan. Kentucky's already got knocked out, so
Yeah.
I'm I'm pulling for you guys tonight. I actually picked you guys. This is one game in the Sweet 16 that I got completely right, and I actually picked Gonzaga to beat UCLA in this matchup before the tournament. When we're filling out brackets and all that kind of stuff. So,
Me too.
Well, I appreciate it.
I had Gonzaga over UCLA in this particular matchup. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the team
Yes.
that really gives me pause is the one that's waiting in the Elite Eight matchup, who just curb stomped Arkansas, and that is UConn with their
So we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to get to your Final Four thoughts, and we can talk about some of the games that just happened. So two of the games are I'm not sure if this other game is final. One of the games is final.
Well,
both of them are final now.
Hold on.
I'm not sure if the Arkansas UConn game is completely final.
Give me a second. No, there's still about 3 or so minutes left.
Yeah. So Kansas State and Michigan State is final. It went into overtime, and Kansas State won 98-93. So Kansas State is moving on to the Elite Eight.
Yep.
And then UConn is pile driving Arkansas, it seems, pretty much all night. Arkansas is coming off of a huge win and looking great against Kansas, who's the number one seed in that region, and knocked them off. But they really, the ugly Arkansas come back out tonight. If you ask me, they went long droughts without scoring again, and that's kind of been their nemesis, I guess, this year for Arkansas. And it looks like UConn, they're up 25 with 2.5 minutes to go, something like that. So UConn is going to advance. You will be, if the winner of the Gonzaga UCLA game will be playing UConn.
That's right.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on the Final Four all around? The Sweet 16 and who all might come out of it.
Yeah, so before the tournament began, I picked Houston, Alabama, Gonzaga, and actually my dark horse pick was Memphis to go to the Final Four. But obviously Memphis fell to FAU with some questionable calls at the end of that game in the first round. And now my pick out of that region would actually be Tennessee, believe it or not. I kind of feel like this is the year where Rick Barnes has a chance to potentially punch that ticket finally and get Tennessee.
Well, the region is open for him, that's for sure.
Yeah. In Kansas State's formidable, no doubt, and
they are.
I think Jalen Noel has been a godsend for Jerome Tang. I think he had like 19 assists and 20 points tonight. I mean, he's
he had
superstar.
He had 15 like with half the second half to go or something. Assists. Yeah.
And then Keontae Johnson, obviously he's living up to all of the hopes that everyone had for him before he had that heart issue at Florida a few years back. So I'm not discounting Kansas State. They could easily win that, and that's the thing about March. Every single game at this point is 50-50. Like this is going to be
without Ziegler.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the guard play. I don't know if they can match up with Norvell or not. I mean, he's just something else.
Yeah, that's a good point. Honestly, after watching them play tonight, I'm questioning that pick a little bit. But I the other day I said it, so I'm going to stand by it. I'm taking Tennessee.
Well, I still have 3 of mine in as well. I actually picked Gonzaga in this region to go to the Final Four. I picked Houston. I picked Alabama, And then my other pick was actually Marquette, and they got knocked out
Okay.
by Michigan State in the second round.
Yeah.
They're the other team. So in that region, if I had to do it now, I would probably pick Kansas State just because of the way they look and the way they've been playing. I think the guard play usually wins in the tournament most of the time. So,
Sure.
If I had to do it over right now, I'd probably pick Kansas State in that region. John, what do you think?
Well, I currently only have 2 in the Final Four. It is not Gonzaga. I had Gonzaga losing before that. But yeah, I'm funny enough, I'm winning the bracket challenge, but I don't have a whole lot of points available for me beyond here. So I'm not really going to do well if I don't hit every available
game that you have.
Game that I can.
Right.
So I will fall and fall fast. So as far as what I had, I think I had Texas, Kansas, I had Marquette, and who was my other one? Texas, Kansas, Marquette, and
Bama.
No, I actually had Bama losing earlier, but they also were losing to a team that got knocked out before they would have played them.
Did you have Duke in that region?
No, I did not. I have it up here. I could pull it up and tell you who I had.
No, you said Marquette, so it'd be a different region. I'm sorry.
Arizona, who lost early.
Yeah.
Arizona, yeah.
Right. I had Texas winning it all, so that at least they're still safe. But
For now.
Arizona getting knocked out in the first round really did a number on my bracket. Of course, did a number on that region. Basically, just destroyed the region.
Right.
Virginia also losing early because Virginia and Arizona were supposed to play in the Elite Eight, so that really
knocked you in the head.
Yeah. That's why I thought I was always losing, and then kept getting shocked every time I saw that I was in first place.
He's actually ahead right now in the bracket, but
I'm going to lose because I don't have enough points. People will pass me if certain things happen. I will fall, and I will fall fast.
Who was your title pick?
It was Texas.
Texas.
So I still have the Texas.
He's still, if Texas was to win, he might have a chance.
Sure.
I have one on each side. So
Uh-oh.
All right. Did he freeze up?
I think so.
All right. Well, Josh, I appreciate you being on with us. And
yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you being on. We appreciate, the time with, right before the game and everything, and being on with us. So I wish you luck tonight.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And
yeah, man.
Again, if anybody out there is looking for a new podcast to listen to, if you're a Kentucky fan, switch everything. Just like the defensive term, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, all the major outlets.
Right. And I'll help promote you and tag you and stuff on this, and tag your switch everything as well if you'd like that, and that way we can kind of do it all together and
all right.
and hit everything together. But we appreciate you being on. I promised you I would try to have you off by 8:30. You have an 8:45. This is Central Times. Y'all have an 8:45 tip.
Yes, sir.
So I want to make sure that I get you out, and I know that you're going to be heavily involved in the game tonight. So
absolutely.
I appreciate you being on with me
again. Yes,
all
sir.
right.
Thank you.
All right.
Josh Linky was with us tonight. So thank you, Josh.
Have a good one, y'all.
All right.
All right, guys. That was Josh Linky. He is the Zagaholic. He created a blog in 2007 called the Zagaholic, and it actually took off, went big, and he has expanded it and doing a lot more than just a blog. He reports and does all kinds of stuff for Gonzaga basketball. and he's on a Gonzaga podcast, and he's on the podcast that he was promoting here tonight called Switch Everything. He actually lived in Louisville for a while, so there's a Kentucky fan with him on the Switch Everything podcast. So we are kind of promoting that since Josh was on with us, and we thank him for being on with us right before the Sweet 16 matchup.
Yep.
So before we go on, I'm going to do a little promo here for the Fresh Channel. The Fresh Channel is something that we are on Sunday nights, and I am going to do a little promo, and here it is, guys.
Hey, I am Hal Fresh here to tell you about the Real Fresh channel. That's right, youtube.com/the Real Fresh channel. We are a network aiming to bringing you various content each and every day, different types of podcasts, different type of content, anything from college SportsCast and fresh takes for some sports. We also got You Want to Do What? We got the Wrestling Corner. We got live stream. Just go over to youtube.com/the Real Fresh channel and hit us up today. Thank you for checking it out. Appreciate your time.
Right on. Well then.
All right, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, guys. So we're back. That was the Real Fresh channel. That is Howie Fresh. Check him out on YouTube. Having a little commercial time in there for him. He's doing one for us, so I'm doing one for him. All right, so let's get to the Michigan State Kansas State game. That was a well of a game. It went into overtime. Michigan State actually led a few times late in this, and Kansas State hit some really big shots and won 98-93 in overtime. And it was a great game. John, did you watch a lot of that or no?
I mean, it was on at the place I was at for a little bit, then it went away, and then it was on again, and it was right before it went to overtime. So I didn't get to see a whole lot of it. I just knew it was close. And
I was preparing the show a little bit, so I didn't actually sit and continuously watch the whole thing. But it was a really, really good game. I watched the first half and bits and pieces of the second half and bits and pieces of overtime is how I got to watch it because I was preparing for the show and everything. But it was a great game. I'm telling you, the Kansas State little guard, Noel is – I mean, I'm pretty sure he was close to 20 assists tonight on top of all the scoring that he done. So, I mean, he's just something else. He's the one that beat Kentucky the other night, and he knocks out Michigan State and Tom Izzo on a night when they played really, really well. And then the other game just went final. I have it on the bottom of the screen, Arkansas and UConn. Arkansas never really was in this game after the 10-minute mark. The first 10 minutes, they were down like 21-17 or something like that, and then after that, they were never. They went on a dry spell. I think they got outscored 14-0 at that point, and they just never were really in this game. UConn controlled the game. Arkansas just didn't score well in this game and went through some droughts. So UConn advances to the Elite Eight and looked well doing it. You know, this UConn team is a dangerous team. Earlier in the year, they knocked off Alabama and won some big games early in the year. They kind of went through a stretch where I was kind of worried about them, but they look like they have found Hurley's got them back playing the way they were early in the year. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Yeah, so I did have the Arkansas game, and they did go ice cold for a little bit and allow UConn to just blitz them early, and they never really recovered. I believe they went down 10-15 early in the game, and then just never could climb their way out of it. So, yeah.
Right. Well, that's kind of the first games. Now, the rest of the games have not been played yet, so we're going to do some picks on the rest of the games. This is our Game Day Pick'em show. We had a special guest on, and we're going to kind of finish the show up here with our Pick'ems. The next two games for tonight is Florida Atlantic, FAU versus Tennessee. That game will be coming on here in just a few minutes. And I kind of want to do a pick on this game. We'll start with that one, and then we'll move on to the Zags and UCLA. I kind of already said my pick on that one, but we'll start with the FAU versus Tennessee. What do you think in this game? Do you think that FAU, who has been a top 20 team for most of the season, and also a near top 20 team in the net rankings as well, do they have a shot tonight against Tennessee?
I mean, they always have a shot, but I feel like Tennessee's going to have a few. I believe they're just going to be able to outlast them.
Tennessee is a 5-point favorite according to Vegas.
So, but I just think Tennessee will be there at the end. Don't really see Tennessee much further than this, but I think tonight, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Tennessee in this game as well. The way they played against Duke, if they play that way, if they play rough and tough, I just don't see FAU being able to stay with them. And when I say that, I'm not saying because Duke, they didn't run away from Duke either. It was a 6, 8, 10-point game the entire game. And that's kind of what I feel like this game will be, somewhere in that 6 to 12-point range, pretty much the whole game. And it'll be a 6 or 8-point win probably for Tennessee would be what I think will probably happen in this game. Now, that is if Tennessee plays physical and tough like they normally play.
Right.
If Tennessee comes out and plays more, looks more finesse, then I think FAU would have a shot to maybe speed the game up on them and possibly beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That would be my take on this game. And then the Gonzaga UCLA game is basically the game of the night, if you ask me. I know Kansas State, Michigan State was just a well of a game to watch. But Gonzaga and UCLA have now had – this is their fourth NCAA matchup in the last 16, 17 years now. That two of those three previous matchups were buzzer beaters. Two of the three, the 2006 game and the 2021 game, were buzzer beaters. And about 4 or 5 of the players that were on the floor in the Final Four in 2021 are still playing tonight in this game. Drew Timmy's playing. Jaime Jaquez is playing. Tiger Campbell is playing. And I think there's a couple of more, one on each team at least, that was on the floor in 2021 in the Final Four when Jalen Suggs hit the game winner from just past half court to move them on to the final game. And that was actually to preserve Gonzaga's undefeated season. They actually were undefeated that year in the championship game and lost in the championship game. in 2021 to Baylor. But I'm going to pick the Zags. I had picked the Zags in this game before this tournament started in my bracket. I'm going to stay with Zags. I think Drew Timme does climb that 20-point mountain that I was talking about earlier. If he gets 20 points tonight, he will have 10 20-point NCAA games and break the record.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with the Zags. I think that's what you said you was going to go with too, right?
Yeah, I'm going Zags. I had this game as well with both UCLA and Gonzaga in it, and I have Gonzaga winning it, going to the Elite Eight.
All right. I thought that's what you'd said. So then we're going to get to tomorrow's games. There's 4 games tomorrow. The first 2 games are number 1 seeds. We got San Diego State, number 5 seed versus number 1, Alabama. And this game is being played in Louisville. Kentucky. Yep, and being played in Louisville, Kentucky.
That is correct.
Yep. What do you think in this game? Do you think San Diego State is
San Diego State's got to play bully ball in order to have any success? They've got to dominate the paint, but they've got to keep. I mean, I just think that Alabama's shooters have to just be ice cold in this game for this game to have any sort of success for San Diego State. While as an Auburn fan, I would love it and I would celebrate and absolutely laugh hysterically for San Diego State to win this. But Alabama has beaten every opponent, or just about every opponent, by like 20 plus. And I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen again.
They're favored 7.5.
Yeah, that doesn't mean squat.
I know. I'm just throwing it out there. Vegas has them favored 7.5 in this game. I just unless Alabama is just ice cold tomorrow.
I believe I just said that.
Yeah, I just don't see Alabama not winning this game.
Correct.
So I'm going to pick. I mean, Alabama. They with Sears and Gurley and and Brandon Miller and they just have too much, I think. So I'm going to go with Alabama in this game, and then the next one is also a 5 versus a 1. You have Miami versus Houston, and this is in Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah, I honestly think that Houston, God, they haven't truly needed Sasser. I think that they would need Sasser in this game.
He's technically had about another 5.5 or 6 days to heal. So
right
with his growing injury.
Right, but I mean that thing. That's not an easy recovery. That takes time and rest and not, getting out there and practicing. He's got to be out and at least moving around. But, you could easily mess something up just doing that. So I'm going to go Houston on this one. But, I mean, I would not be shocked if Miami won.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I had Miami getting upset early in the tournament. I really Miami, they were playing without one of their players. They do have him back. I don't know, if the chemistry's still there and and all that with them. So that has helped. But late in the season, Miami gave up a 26-point second-half lead to Florida State at home, and that just killed me with them. I just couldn't.
It's not a good Florida State team either.
No, it was a terrible Florida State team, and it just killed me with them, and I just couldn't pick them. But they do have Isaiah Wong and another good player, like I said, that just come back, and his name starts with an O, and I can't remember exactly what it is. But anyway, so there's they do have some players and some talent. Isaiah Wong was an honorable mention All-American. So they do have some players, and with Sasser and his growing problems, Houston is probably more vulnerable than what I thought they would be.
Right.
With that. But I am going to pick Houston in this game. I had picked them to start with in this game. This is one that I picked and can win, and I'm going to stick with Houston to get to the Elite Eight.
Yep.
And then the late games tomorrow night are Princeton, number 15 seed Princeton, versus number 6 seed Creighton in this Sweet 16 matchup. And it actually is an intriguing matchup. Princeton, plays their style of offense. And if you're a basketball fan, you know the Princeton offense. It's famously been run by Princeton, but also it was famously run by John Thompson at Georgetown in the 80s and 90s.
It's famously run by unathletic teams to close the gap between them and athletic teams.
Yep, that's exactly.
It
slows the game down. That's what they do. It's many picks and screens.
Yep.
They go through many picks and screens. A lot of them are backdoor screens. And the offense uses backdoor screens. And, Princeton has used this year with a good team, by the way. They are, 22 or 23 wins now, something like that. And with a good team, they have used that to, first of all, they knocked off the league champion Yale in the conference tournament. And then they knocked off Arizona as a 1 seed in the first round. And then they not only knocked off, they manhandled number 7 Missouri and beat them handedly. I mean, Missouri was never within 12, 15 points the whole second half in that game. And so Princeton is a good team, and I think it's actually going to be an interesting matchup with Creighton, because Creighton, has 5 or 6 players. They're not the most athletic, they're not Alabama, they're not Houston. You know what I mean? Like they don't have the athletes. They have good basketball players, and Princeton has good basketball players. And I actually think this is a good matchup. What do you think?
I really think that ultimately this Cinderella story is going to hit midnight for Princeton. I would love it for Princeton to win this one, just to really, really kind of set the world on fire. Because me.
That'd be 2 years in a row of a 15 seed gets to the Elite Eight.
I love chaos, and while I never picked this, this would be the absolute most chaotic thing that could happen to the tournament so far, or at this point, outside of like I said, the fact that they knocked off Arizona early and absolutely destroyed my bracket.
Yeah, mine too.
Because I had an entire region go south because they lost and Virginia lost early.
Right.
So that.
Well, one of my brackets, I actually have Creighton in this game, and in the other bracket, I had Arizona. I had so yeah.
I'm of a firm belief that you only create one bracket.
Well,
yeah.
We've already discussed this.
Yes. I like to just periodically just bring it up. So in this game, I actually had Creighton in this game, but they were facing Arizona, and then Arizona would win. So
Right.
Creighton being in this game it does not go against my bracket. It's what happens after this game that would be against my bracket, because Arizona would have been that team that would have won right here.
Right.
That I had in my bracket. So,
well, as much as I would like to take Princeton in this game, I just think Creighton has too good of basketball players. But at the same time, Arizona and Missouri had some awfully good basketball players as well. So you just never know when it comes to that. But I am going to take the Blue Jays. This is in one of my brackets. I did have Creighton winning this game. Not against Princeton, but I had them winning the game. So I'm going to take Creighton in this one. And then the last game tomorrow night should be a really, really good game with this guard play. And that's number 3, Xavier takes on number 2 seed Texas tomorrow night.
Yep.
So we end the Sweet 16 with that game tomorrow night. What do you think on the Xavier-Texas game?
So like the Gonzaga-UCLA game, I had this game picked as Xavier versus Texas. I also had Texas winning this game. So I have Texas winning. So, I mean, because I've got Texas winning it all. But I did have Texas going against Xavier in the Sweet 16 and Texas advancing.
So you staying with that?
I am staying with that. I actually even in the Houston-Miami game had both games, both teams picked and had Houston going. So
I as well have Texas picked in this game. I have Texas in my Final Four out of that bracket. So I have Texas in that game. And I'm going to stick with Texas. I thought the way Texas closed the season by beating Kansas by plus 15 twice the first part of March, I thought that bode pretty well for them heading into the tournament. Xavier has looked well, and their guard play has been stellar. So, do they have a puncher's chance tomorrow night? Sure. I mean, Sean Miller is a heck of a coach. His first year there, by the way, back there again, and has done a great job of getting Xavier back to the Sweet 16 for the first time, I think, since 2017. So got to give him some props there on that. But I do have Texas picked in that game.
Right.
So that is the Sweet 16 matchups for March Madness. The next thing I want to talk about, so tomorrow, and I know a lot of people may not want to pay attention to this, but tomorrow, Kentucky football's Pro Day is tomorrow. And it's a pretty big damn deal that's going on. Will Levis is bringing in everybody. So the past years, when Kentucky's had their Pro Day, they've brought in some TV people. ESPN Plus has showed up and done some coverage of UK's Pro Day behind a paywall for ESPN Plus. But tomorrow, SEC Network is going to be there pretty much for 3 or 4 hours. And on top of that, NFL Network is there tomorrow to broadcast live. And there is over 90 media members that are expected to be there. Could be over 100 media members. And that's the media. That's not counting the scouts and all that's going to be there tomorrow. Will Levis is going to be throwing supposedly around 1 o'clock Eastern time, and it is going to be made for TV tomorrow. And one of the last things that I want to mention about Kentucky's Pro Day tonight, sometime maybe still going on now. It is kind of late there now, so it's about 10 Eastern time. So, but tonight in Lexington, Kentucky, Will Levis went to dinner with the Carolina Panthers owners, with their top management people, and with the head coach and the offensive coordinator tonight in Lexington, Kentucky, leading up to this pro day. So there has been talk that the Carolina Panthers may be trying to trade up to make sure that they get Will Levis. We've already seen the Bears trade their pick. So I think Carolina is got the 9th. No, wait a second. It was Carolina that traded, wasn't it?
Yes, I think Carolina traded for.
It was Carolina that traded up, right? So they have the number 1 pick.
Correct. They do have the number 1 pick.
Yeah. They did have the 9th pick, but I think they're the ones that traded with Chicago and now have the 1st pick. And Carolina is courting Will Levis tonight in Lexington. And there is some major talk about that, as well as the Indianapolis Colts. Those are the 2 teams that I keep hearing that are majorly interested in Will Levis at the top of the board. So I just wanted to bring that up. I know that there's Kentucky Football Pro Day is not something that the national media is probably most of the time interested in, but this time they are. There is going to be an absolute ton of them there, and it's going to be on TV in the morning starting at 10:30 Eastern time on SEC Network. So check them out. Kentucky's got 11 players that are going to be participating in Pro Day tomorrow, including Chris Rodriguez, several linebackers, Jordan Wright, DeAndre Square, Keandre Smith. I'm trying to think of how you pronounce his first name.
Right.
And there's going to be several players. There's 11 players that are working out in front of the scouts tomorrow. And like I said, check them out. It's going to be on SEC Network at 10:30 in the morning Eastern time. And then at 1 Eastern time, NFL Network is going to join in. And that's when Will Levis is supposed to do his thing.
Sweet. Yeah.
All right. So do you have some baseball series that you want us to?
I just looked up some right here.
If you're not ready, I'll do a prize pick real quick.
Do that.
All right. All right, guys. So we are now part of Prize Picks, and as soon as I can get this to come up on the screen, our prize pick code is CSCast. And we ask that you go to prizepicks.com and use our code CSCast. When you use this code as your initial deposit on an account with Prize Picks, you can double your money up to $100. So if you put down $50, you actually get $100 to play with. If you put down $100, you'll actually get $200 to play with. And right now, with the NCAA tournament going on, it's a perfect time to have a little bit of fun on your daily fantasy sports and get out there and make a few small picks with this money. Again, use our code CSCast on prizepicks.com. to 100% match your deposit up to $100. All right, so John's trying to get a couple of or a few baseball series lined up. So I'm going to update the bracket challenge. So we have a couple of leaders tied. John is actually tied before tonight's game started with Grayson Ricketts, I think is his name. And there's two of you that's tied at the top. I've taken a little beating this week because I got two brackets and one's 7th and one's 12th out of about 18 or 20 that's in our league, something like that. But I do still have quite a few points available because I still have 3 of my Final Four teams that are in. And in both of mine, actually, I have 3 Final Four teams. So I think I'm like tied for second for the most points possible, I think, in one. And then the other one, I think I'm tied for 5th most points possible, I think. So, but we encourage you to play. Anytime we do these challenges and these brackets and stuff like that, hop on board and play and put your bracket in with us. And we just have a little bit of fun with it. I post everything on Twitter. And you can, Brad CS Cast is my Twitter account. So you can go on there and we post everything on there each night. And we've already got a winner with Kansas State and UConn tonight. So I'm sure the brackets have changed. And I haven't taken a peek at them since the game started tonight. But
yeah, I don't remember exactly where we are in as far as the brackets. I know that I was, like I said, still in the lead. But on to baseball. So the first one, and I'm going to go ahead and there's 2 of them that are Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. And one of them has already had one game completed. The other one is still going. So the first game is Duke versus UNC. And UNC has already won game 1. So do you think that Duke will win the next 2 games? Or do you think that UNC will win at least one more game and take the series?
Duke and UNC.
That's number 15. UNC is the home team. Duke is unranked.
And UNC is the one that won tonight.
Yeah, UNC won 6-3 tonight.
And it's at home. I'm going to go with UNC in the series.
UNC in the series. Yeah, it does make sense. It's not like it's much harder to do it. They just need to win one out of the next 2 games, and they could win the series. I will as well. The other game there was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series was between Auburn and Georgia. It's Georgia at Auburn. Both teams are unranked. This game is still being played because Auburn tied it in the bottom of the 9th. They are in the top of the 10th right now.
Yeah, I see it.
6-6.
I've got it on the ESPN app, so it says 6-6 in the top of the 10th. I'm not watching it, but
right.
Yeah,
they tied it late in the game.
I'm actually going to go with Auburn in this series. I think Auburn should beat Georgia in this series. I would think.
Right. Yeah, one would think. Auburn should have a better team, but pitching is at a detriment right now to Auburn. And if the offense can't pick it up, then the pitching will have to survive, and they are not been very reliable.
They've struggled. You're right. They have been struggling with the pitching staff. That's what's caused them problems. They can hit the ball. They've got the hitting. They can score runs, They just
Yep.
are getting outscored in several games.
Right. And last weekend against Arkansas, they were unable to get any sort of offense really going. And that was against another, what seemed to be a bad pitching staff as well, but they were coming on because the one of their pitchers threw a complete game last week and then came back this past week or the previous week that he threw a complete game, and then this past week did very well, and so has actually helped the pitching staff's numbers go from being like 12th to being like 9th or something like that, where Auburn is still in double digits as
Right.
far as being in the bottom third.
This is a series that Auburn needs if they're going to make any noise in the SEC. So I'm going to pick them. I'm going to pick them in the series.
They do need to win this one. All right, moving on. Next one will be number 5 Arkansas at number 1 LSU.
Yeah, I thought you might pick this one. I did pull up some of the baseball stuff. So, Arkansas is the team you were talking about that kind of put it on Auburn last weekend. They
Correct.
are 19-2. The same record as LSU, by the way, but LSU has went out and played in these, classics and stuff like that
Right.
that have been going on early in the season and played a pretty tough schedule.
Right.
And this is at home for LSU, right?
Yes, it's at Alex Box Stadium.
Yeah, I expect LSU to, at the very least, win this series, and they might sweep, which I'm going to say win the series.
Yeah, I would say win the series. They took 2 out of 3 against Texas A&M last week, and they played very poorly in that. Like, as far as the stars for LSU weren't great, and they were still able to take the series.
Right.
But they just didn't have enough on Sunday to win, to sweep against Texas A&M. I think that they will win the series, and it will come down to the Sunday game as to whether they can sweep. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but
Right.
I think it will come down to that their stars will have to be the stars and come out. You'll have to have Dylan Cruz
Tommy
actually
Tanks.
be really good. You'll have to have Tommy Tanks get out there. But I think Tommy Tanks was actually okay this past weekend. But Klinger,
I was just throwing out names. That's
yeah,
all.
Klinger, the leadoff guy, wasn't very good last weekend. Dylan Cruz was very mediocre as far as offensively.
You can't have much better baseball name than Tommy Tanks. I mean, come on.
Right. Tommy White.
It's a nickname.
Tommy White from NC State transfers to LSU, and I mean he was Tommy Tanks at NC State,
Right.
So it's not like this just happened. He was this way at NC State.
Right. I got you.
The next one is it's a surprise that both teams are not ranked. I'm actually more surprised that either one of these teams are not ranked. But it's FSU at UVA at Virginia. And
so Virginia's 19-2.
They are unranked.
Well, according to what I got here, they're 19-2. So
Let me take a look and make sure.
FSU is 12-9.
Right.
On the year. It
Oh,
is.
no, sorry. Let me. I did miss.
Yeah, Virginia
this.
on one poll is 8.
Yeah, sorry, they're 8th. They're 8th.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is even surprising that they're actually 8.
FSU is 12-9. According to what I got here, and
right, they
so
can't
anyway.
beat Florida.
I will go with Virginia to at least win this series at home.
You said Virginia.
And they could sweep it, but I'm going to go win the series.
I think the last time I went against FSU swept whoever they played.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me. They should not have done that, but I do think that UVA's got the better team. They're better. So the next one for our DeFan boys guys, Clemson at Georgia Tech.
Clemson and Georgia Tech. I'm going to have to
Yes.
find this one. I don't know where this one's at on here.
Most of these are in order, going straight down the
Okay.
list. It's
All
just
right, I got you.
I do.
Clemson's 14-8, Georgia Tech's 14-7. It looks like it's at Georgia Tech. Is that right?
Correct.
I'll go with the fanboys crew and go Clemson in the series, even though it's at Georgia Tech.
Gotcha. And I am going to. I will go Georgia Tech. Win the series.
All right.
All right. So just a quick update right here. In the bottom of the 10th, Auburn has now put the leadoff batter on base. That is Stanfield, the left fielder. I believe it is Chris, but I'm not 100% sure. Stanfield, the left fielder, supposed to be pretty quick. Should be the heir apparent to center field once Kason Howell is no longer playing baseball, but he is like 5 or 6. Like he's played for 5 or 6 years. He's got one of the most amount of starts for a starting member of the. And I think he also leads Auburn in the amount of hits for an Auburn Tiger. And he's well over 200 hits now. He's over 200 hits now. The second batter has now been hit by a pitch. He was going up there to bunt, and they.
So they got 2 on, huh?
No, they called it a foul ball. I thought it got him in the arm. I didn't think it hit the. I thought it hit him first. Yeah.
How many more series do we have?
Okay, we've got. That's about halfway through right there. Mizzou.
Okay.
22. Number 22, Mizzou at number 11, South Carolina. I think South Carolina leads the country in home runs.
So this is an interesting series this weekend, I think. Mizzou is coming off of a sweep of then top 5 Tennessee.
Correct.
And it is a pretty big shocker for Mizzou to come in and sweep Tennessee the way they did last weekend.
Correct.
And Mizzou is now ranked this week, went into the rankings and are ranked 22nd, and South Carolina's 11th. They have been in that third hole probably in the thought of the East for a while, behind Florida and Vandy. And this is at South Carolina. Mizzou comes in riding a high, but I'm actually going to take South Carolina in this to take 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
I believe that's probably how this series will go. South Carolina has been, like you said, they lead the country in home runs, and they've been pounding the ball. And they're 20-2. Missouri is 17-3, and coming off of that sweep. So they are coming off of riding highs. So.
Right. And South Carolina is also coming off a sweep of Georgia, but Georgia's not really that great of a team. South Carolina is much better than Georgia, so that was to be expected. I, too, will go South Carolina winning the series. Not a clean sweep, but winning the series against Mizzou. Next one, Texas A&M at Tennessee.
And this is an interesting series as well. And the reason why I say this one's interesting is both of these teams were top 5, top 6 teams going into the season, and both of them have struggled a little bit early in the season so far. Texas A&M is 15-6, and Tennessee is 16-6.
Right.
They are both still in the top 25. Texas A&M, I have them listed here 21st, and Tennessee ranked 12th.
Correct. Yes.
But Tennessee started the season second, and I think Texas A&M was like 6th. I think
Fifth
when
or
they started
sixth,
the preseason,
something
yeah,
like that.
5th or 6th. They were either 5th or 6th.
Correct.
When they started the season. Texas A&M did lose the series to LSU last weekend.
That was to be expected.
And 1-2. They did get one out of LSU.
They got
and Tennessee,
the Sunday.
like I just mentioned, was swept by Missouri.
Right.
If Tennessee is going to be what they thought they were, this is a series that Tennessee absolutely has to win.
This is a
at home.
get-right series.
Yeah, this is
for
this
either
is
team. It's a get-right series, but the problem is that it's at
I'm
Tennessee.
going to pick it for Tennessee since it's at home,
Right.
and then coming off of a complete sweep by a team that you would have thought they would have never got swept by.
Right.
Matter of fact, if we had this last week, I probably picked Tennessee in that series last week over Missouri.
Oh, I'd 100%.
Yeah, so I'm going to say Tennessee gets 2 out of 3 over Texas A&M, but this may be, if they lay an egg this week, this may be the last time I pick them like that.
Correct. And so I've got Tennessee getting right against Texas A&M. I always thought Texas A&M was more of a fraud being that high, but I didn't think. I mean, I still thought they were really good. I just didn't think they were that good.
Right.
So the next series, number 23, Kentucky at Bama.
And this is a series that I've been interested in. You know that. I'm a Kentucky fan, and we're getting into the college baseball stuff now, and I've been following this team. And, their coach has kind of been on the hot seat because he's terrible. He gets real close, and he just can't get Kentucky over the hump most of the time.
I think that has to do more with the league than him.
Yeah, so but he's been there.
Better.
But he's been there about. I think this is his 7th year,
Okay,
I believe, as the coach now.
Right.
And but so this year they're on a 15-game winning streak. They just swept Mississippi State at home this past weekend, and they entered the top 25 this week. They are 23 in this poll. D1, they're 23. Baseball America, they're 25. And they have a great pitching staff.
Yeah.
That is what's kind of kept them in. Alabama fell out of the top 25.
Correct.
This week.
Right.
They are 18-4, though. They are it's not like they are an absolute terrible team, but Alabama is one of those teams, kind of like the Kentucky teams of the past.
Correct.
That put up a lot of wins early on against some weaker teams, and then in the SEC, they usually fall off a little bit.
Right.
Alabama lost the series last week to Florida. They did get one game against Florida last week, and won 1 out of 3.
Right.
So, and Kentucky comes in, like I said, winning 15 in a row. I'm actually going to take Kentucky in this series and hope that that's what happens, and Kentucky can win 2 out of 3.
Right. I'm actually going to go Bama, but by slimmest of margins, because I too think that very much Bama's just been beating up on teams that they should beat up on. And that the moment that they started playing real competition, that's the moment that they actually started losing. So they started out the year, I think, 13 or 14-0, and then they were 4-4 the last 4 games or for last 8 games,
something like that.
so,
yeah.
And they lost 2 out of 3 against Columbia, and then 2 out of 3 against Florida. I think they get right, but I still don't think they're like great or anything like that in any stretch of the mean. So
Kentucky's due some losses. They've won 15 in a row.
Correct.
So if it happens, it's not the end of the world, as long as they don't get swept.
Right. The next one is going to be number 17, Miami, at number 2, Wake Forest.
Miami at Wake.
Yes.
All right. Miami is 17, 15-6. Wake is number 2, 19-3. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know Wake was number 2. Of course, they just dropped. Like I said, Tennessee had been there up to a week or two ago.
Correct.
I guess I'll take Wake in the series.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't know as much about either one of these teams as some of the SEC teams.
Yeah, I'm going to go Wake as well on this, but not again. I don't think they're going to win by a whole lot. I don't think it's going to be like a blowout or anything like that. Last series, number 3, Florida at number 13, Ole Miss.
So Florida has some hitters and been like killing the ball.
Correct.
And Ole Miss, while still hanging on to, the 13th ranking, they're 15-6, not quite what people thought they might be. You know what I mean? Maybe they are. Maybe, I'm not sure. But I do think Florida is probably the better team. So I'm going to take Florida in this to win 2 out of 3, to at least win the series.
Yeah, I believe Ole Miss is coming off of being swept as well, off of the mini sweeps that happened for the SEC this past weekend.
SEC last week,
right.
Yeah. It was 4 or 5? Was it 5? 4.
Swept, all swept. And
Tennessee got swept.
Tennessee got swept.
Mississippi State got swept.
Like both Mississippi schools got swept. And then Georgia got swept. So a lot of sweeps.
Yeah.
A lot of sweeps.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm kind of getting into this baseball thing. So when basketball is completely over, we'll have a lot to talk about when it comes to some of this baseball stuff. So
2 more weeks.
Yep. Basketball is going to be about over with. So by the end of this weekend, guys, we will know the final 4 teams. They will be heading to Houston for April 1st and April 3rd. And we will know the final 4 teams. I think making the final 4 in college basketball is one of the most prestigious tournaments, and you just are well known for the rest of time. You know what I mean? By making the Final 4 in college basketball. It's one of the most prestigious tournaments in the history of sports, if you ask me. And with Tom Izzo losing tonight, we will have a new coach as a winner in the NCAA tournament this time. Izzo was the last remaining coach who had won a title in March Madness. UConn is the only school left now, I believe, that has won an NCAA tournament. I'm pretty sure. If I got that right, I'll take a look and try to go back. But I believe that UConn is the only school left that has won the NCAA tournament now. So, with Izzo being out and no coach left, and now UConn being the only school left, it is getting likely that, we might have a new team win the tournament this time. And I think maybe John froze up, so I'm trying to go on and finish this.
Yeah.
Are you there? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
I wasn't sure exactly how often I have gone in and out here.
A couple of times, but not too many.
Yeah. Yep.
But so, it's getting down, and, it's likely we're definitely going to have a coach as the new winner. I know that for sure.
Well, I mean, UCLA has won a title. They're still in it.
Yes, UCLA has won a title. I was trying to look. So, yes, you're right. UCLA's won 11 titles.
Yeah, I was going to say, UCLA's won a title. They haven't won one recently.
They've won 11 titles.
Right.
But, okay, so UCLA and UConn, I guess, are the only ones, right?
Right. Yep.
Alabama's never won one. Houston's never won one.
Arkansas has. No, they've lost. They're out.
They're out now.
Never mind.
They're out.
They're out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. Yeah.
Arkansas had, but they're out now. And Michigan State had. They were one that had, and they got beat.
Right. They got bounced.
Yeah, tonight.
Yep.
And I'm not sure.
Looking at it, I don't think. I mean, unless Princeton won one a long time ago.
I don't believe so. I mean, unless they won one in the 40s, early 40s, and that's possible. I'm not saying that they didn't.
Right. Not in the modern era.
Yeah. Because in the early 40s, actually, the NIT was a bigger tournament than the NCAA. The NCAA started around 1938 to 40, somewhere around there. I've been a historian about all this stuff in basketball most of my life. And through about 1952 or 53, 54, the NIT was actually bigger than the NCAA tournament. And then the NCAA actually grew and kind of took over. And, since the mid-50s, everybody's won it and goes to the NCAA tournament. And NITs kind of took the back seat. But early on, most teams went to the NIT. So, but I know in the early 40s, you were asking about Princeton. Princeton actually went to the NCAA tournament a few times and done well. I know that. I'm not sure if they won one or not. I'd have to go back and look.
Right.
All right, so I'm going to real quick finish this up with Home for Our Troops. Our Home for Our Troops is our 2023 nonprofit organization that we're asking for each and every one to give to. It is for the fanboys, and they build homes for wounded veterans. And they've been doing this for 20 plus years. So we ask that you give to them. Every dollar that you give, 90 cents of that dollar will go towards building these homes for our injured and wounded troops. And you can do that at www.hfot.usa.org.
Yep.
All right, guys. Sweet 16 round. Then you got the Elite Eight. And on Sunday, we will come back and we will wrap up the weekend, and we will talk about all the games that has happened between the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, and we will wrap up to the Final Four and maybe even begin a little preview on the Final Four.
All right.
On Sunday, catch us on WSBN TV, YouTube, or Facebook at 3 p.m.